So excited. This meeting is being recorded. And we are so excited and honored to have Melissa Pappas with us for our final event of Social Work Month 2022, which has been just an amazing month of learning and building resilience and coping. And I'm so excited to hear what Melissa has to share with us today. This is also the first Leadership and Social Work Speaker Series event. So hopefully this is just going to be a wonderful start to learning from our alumni who continue to have wonderful relationships with our school. Just a little bit of housekeeping. We'll save questions till the end. So we have about 30 or 35 minutes to hear from Melissa. And you can put your questions right into the chat, and then Kelsey Burkett from the foundation will help us by moderating the conversation at the end. If for those of you who are alumni or students, if you would like a certificate that you attended today for any reason, we just need for you to register for us at this link that I've just put into the chat. And then we can develop and share a certificate of attendance with you. Also fun, Melissa's company, Athena Consulting, will be at the CSU Job Fair on April 6th. And just sharing the link to that event as well in the chat. So I'd like to go ahead and turn it over to Melissa. Welcome, Melissa. Thanks for being with us today.
Thank you, and it's a pleasure to be here. So some of you know me, and for those of you who don't, I graduated from CSU School of Social Work in 1985, and I was a first-generation college student. My parents were first-generation Americans and didn't go past high school, and so going to college was it was interesting. I talk about this. When I grew up, it was never kind of discussed whether we would go to college. It was just part of like the thing, like the expectation that we were going to college, even though I had never been on a college campus ever until we dropped my brother off at school. That was my first time. And my second time was when I went to CSU for new student orientation. So here's how little we knew. I applied to one college and luckily I got in. Like I didn't know, my parents didn't know. Now when I hear about these kids applying to 15 colleges, I'm like, oh my God, I applied to one. Good thing I got in. I was thrilled. I grew up in a very kind of working class neighborhood, and most of the families were similar to mine, that the parents hadn't gone to college, had kind of blue collar jobs. I'd say 60% of the kids I went to high school with did not go to college. So going to college was a big deal for me. It was really a big deal. And when I got to CSU, I thrived. And the School of Social Work was just such a perfect fit for me. And I really thrived there. My interest has always been in social welfare policy. And after my undergraduate degree, I got a master's degree in welfare policy as well. And then I went on to spend a career working in social welfare policy. So I'm someone that was lucky enough that I kind of had this interest and have been able to kind of find jobs along the way that have kind of always kept me in my area of interest. And I still do kind of a lot of the same things. So it's been, an interesting experience, but it's been a wild ride. And my, my encouragement to everyone is just life just takes you in different directions, and you just kind of have to go with it. Keep moving forward, but it's going to zig and it's going to zag, and you keep moving forward. And one of the things a story I thought of today that I wanted to share with you is after graduate school, or while I was in graduate school, I had no idea what I wanted to do for a job. clue. So, and a friend of mine had said she had arranged all these informational interviews in Washington, DC. And I was like, I didn't even know what an informational interview was, but she said, you should do this. I called all these alumni and they're willing to meet with me. And then my friend said, well, I'll just give you the names of the people I called. Why don't you call them? So that was easy. I did. And then I was able to find a few on my own, kind of got it together and did that. And I came to Washington and I talked to people who had the most interesting jobs that I didn't even know existed. So I talked to people that were doing worldwide reproductive health, that were working in like just so many interesting things. And my eyes lit up. I was like, oh my gosh, there's this whole world of things that I could do that I had no idea about. So I really always encourage graduate students to go on, call alumni. Alumni love to talk about what we do and help you get started. And I'm a parent. I have a recent college graduate and I have a student who's a senior in college. And I tell them the same thing, like you really, networking really turns into something. And when you go on an informational interview, the purpose is to learn about their job. It's not to go there, ask them for a job. It's to learn about what they do, what do they like about where they work. And you'll just learn a lot of things. You'll learn things about work environments. You'll learn things about like different types of jobs, but you'll learn about work cultures and just, there's so much you can learn when you just talk to different people. So I always encourage people, call alumni, call people in your network, use LinkedIn extensively, look to see if you know anyone that works there, if you're connected to them, ask them if they can tell you anything about the job or the place. It's such an amazing connection. But I really didn't know what I wanted to do. And I really have just a lot of empathy for my kids as well. And for everybody, it's hard to get started. It's really hard to figure out what you want to start in and getting your first job. And so my recommendation is you start somewhere and you learn as much from a job that you don't like as you do from a job you do like. So I moved to Washington to go work on something so unbelievably interesting and fascinating. And I ended up in the General Assembly in Annapolis, Maryland, the capital of Maryland, staff to Appropriations Committee, which is the committee that does the budget. They put me in a cubicle in the back of this room. This was not the right fit for me. And I had an 8-month contract. And at the end of 8 months, they said they were not going to renew my contract. And I was devastated. I was saying earlier, I was let go, basically. It was not a great fit. And it was the best thing that ever happened to me. Once I stopped crying and got myself together, I started applying for jobs and I ended up getting my dream job, my unbelievable dream job, working with state welfare agencies. So every single state has a Department of Public Welfare, and they have an association where they work on all the issues that affect all the state public welfare departments. Totally my dream job. I would have never looked for it, known about it, if the legislature hadn't kind of encouraged me to move on. So, at the time, my mom said to me, "Oh, honey, when one door closes, another opens." And I was like, not having it. But it really gave me the opportunity to then go look for something else. And I knew I didn't want to be in a cubicle doing numbers all day. That taught me a lot. What's really, really funny is that I've ended up working in the General Assembly in Annapolis from an outside perspective for 20 of the last 30 years. So it's really funny that I'd started there and then I've ended up kind of back there doing a lot of work. My parents not being professionals, I felt like I didn't trust their insights into things. I felt like when I was applying after I left the General Assembly and I was applying for this job at the American Public Welfare Association, my dream job, my dad said to me, if you want that job, you should go get it. And I was like of the mind that you send in a resume and then you sit home and you wait. Like that's how you get a job in the professional world. You send it in and then they're going to call you. And my dad kept saying to me, if you want it, go get it. I'm like, it's not like that. And maybe in plumbing, you go meet the plumbing people, but that's not how it is in a professional setting. Well, my dad was was forceful and kind of was yelling at me, like, you better do this. So I called the hiring manager and I said, hey, I have a writing sample I'd like to drop off. And it's like, go to drop off the writing sample. And the receptionist said, great, I'll take it. And I was like, well, can I go see him? I kind of like begged my way back there. And I got in his office and I was like, I'll work harder than anyone you've ever met. I'll work, I'm really a fast learner. I will, I'll pick this up. And they hired me on a provisional basis because I didn't have any experience, and ended up staying there and loving it, just absolutely loving it and thriving. But, my dad was right. And I was just talking to my girlfriend's daughter, who's a senior in college, and she was sending out all these resumes, and we were talking about the importance of follow-up. That here's the thing that everyone assumes when you don't hear, it's because they're not interested in you. It's generally because they are disorganized and they need to figure out who's going to do the interview, who's going to be in charge of this, where's this person going to, like, they've got a million things going on their side of the equation that have nothing to do with whether they're interested in you or not. And so when you don't hear back after a week or two, don't get discouraged. Send a follow-up email. Just want to check in, see if you need anything else from me. So I will tell you about my day. My day is I get thousands of emails. And once they scroll off my screen and all the new ones come up, I forget about those. And I tell people all the time, feel free to ping me. Just send me an email to get it to the top of the list so that I see it and I can capture it in writing so I can follow up. And you should assume the same thing with when you're applying for jobs, that they're really busy, and pinging them is probably doing them a favor. It's not an annoyance. And, when you ping them, you're letting them know that you're interested, that you're following up, and that these are the skills you're also going to bring to the job. And you're showing them your initiative and your tenacity. And those are all things that employers want to see. So I got my dream job at the American Public Welfare Association and loved it, loved it, loved it. And we lobbied on Capitol Hill for legislation that affected basically the income programs. So it was, income maintenance, food support, childcare programs, housing assistance. And I loved it. But it was really, there was really no upward mobility from there. Once you get hired, you just kind of stay at this level. And after a couple of years, I wanted something more, and I got called by a headhunter, and there was a consulting firm that consulted to state welfare agencies, like the same people I was already working with. So I left there and I went to work for a consulting company, consulting on public welfare. So again, I'm like still in my lane. I am really happy. And the thing that I found, I got to this consulting company is, let's say there were 100 of us, only 3 or 4 of us were social workers. Everyone else came from different backgrounds, and they're helping make decisions about public assistance programs. And I always feel like we need to get more social workers involved in the decision making at the table. Not to disparage, the business program. My son's a business major, but do we want like the business people making decisions about public welfare? No offense. Just, like I encourage social workers to have a seat at the table and in business and go into business, businesses. They need our social work values, our social work background really cuts across every kind of industry and job. One of the things that you guys asked is, how did my social work values impact my career and what I do? And I think it's just the focus on people and on taking care of people. And I worked at this consulting company for 9 years and loved it. Worked a lot, but really thrived there and learned a lot. And I traveled a lot, and I had one child and kept traveling. And then I had a second baby, and I was like, I can't travel like this. I have to do something else. So I, again, didn't really know what I was going to do, didn't really know what I was good at, but I thought, well, I've worked with state governments all these years. Maybe I could do something like consulting to state governments or consulting to other businesses that want to work with state governments, because that's what I knew how to do. So I started Athena Consulting, my company. I started in my basement, and I had 2 babies, and I had, help with my kids. And I got up every morning, got dressed like I was going to an office, went down to my desk and sat there and worked until 4 o'clock every day, like I was dressed. And partly I was also trying to, get clients. So if I talked to someone who said, are you available to meet? I was already dressed. I could hop in my car, I could go. But it also just gave me this sense that I took this seriously. I was treating this like a real job. This wasn't a hobby. And it started, I kind of took on all kinds of different projects. I worked for a couple of nonprofits, writing grants for them. I did kind of anything that I could, because I was also, supporting my family. So, people say, well, what was my passion for starting the business? It really wasn't a passion. It was like, how can I have more access to my kids and support my family? And what do I have to do that? This was never my lifelong dream, but I started Athena, and it quickly evolved into a staffing company. And our clients are state governments and county governments. And we do provide a lot of social work staff throughout the country to different agencies. And that's, again, I'm kind of staying in my lane. But my social work values about taking care of people, I have shelves, you can't see them, filled with business books, all these different books on how to run a business. And all of them will tell you that if you take care of your employees, your business will be successful. And it's something that I've always, believed in, and that happy employees do great work. So, I don't have a background in finance. I have figured out, I've figured out, more things that I didn't know. The one thing that I do know is that I know how to learn. So every time something comes at me that I don't know about, setting up a 401k program or whatever things that have come across my desk in business, at first it's always intimidating. And then I always remind myself, I do know how to learn. And there's lots of resources. So I also have gone back I've joined a program through a university for entrepreneurs on how to grow your business. I felt like I really just was out of tricks, like all of the things that I knew how to do. I'd already implemented and I wanted to learn more. And so like 5 years ago, I signed up to take this program and it's been amazing. It's been amazing, amazing. And so I encourage you to be lifelong learners. Sign up for programs, get more training in whatever you need. It will only, help you. And even if you just get one thing out of it, it's completely worth it. This past fall, I was really having a lot of challenges in my office with my leadership team, and happened to be probably on Facebook, saw some ad for a leadership class from my graduate school. And I signed up, and it was a 6-week class. And it really, I got some things out of that. It was really helpful. And it just came at a time that I was struggling. And so I always encourage people to continue to learn, sign up for things, read books. I've gone through periods where I try to spend an hour every day reading a business book. So I come into my office, I sit down, and I spend an hour just reading and outlining and taking notes and trying new things. And it's really helped me stretch myself. And I still get challenged a lot, all the time, a lot. And the way that I calm myself down is to remind myself I can learn and I can find really smart people to help me. So I lean on the people around me to help me with making decisions. I talk to lots of people that are even here, asking them how they've handled things, how did they do things. And that's helped me get through. And so at this point in my career, my company is turning 20 years this summer, which is amazing that I started 20 years ago. I had 2 babies at the time. I now have 3 young men. And my company in my basement grew from, me plus 1. And now we have about 1,400 employees in 25 states. So it's really grown into this big company. And I sit back and I think about, I'm not the image of what I think a business person is. That I think of a business, someone that runs a big business is they've got an MBA, they've got a background in finance, they're really sharp with management tools. And I have that, but I think I have instincts. I have good instincts, and I really listen. I spend more time listening than I do talking, because I know I don't know everything. So I need to listen to other people, and I take notes. I have a notebook. I take notes at every single meeting and on every single phone call. I take notes, and now, I still write by hand, but now I put little tabs. Actually, someone on the call here recommended these little tabs that you can erase and use over. I've got my notebook tabbed, so I can go back and find my notes about whatever the topic is, so that I can keep referring back and learning and kind of getting the terminology down and learning, about these new things. I'm now thinking, I'm on this path now, investigating how to sell my business. Again, they didn't teach me this in social work school. And, I'm learning about it. So I'm taking lots of notes. I spend most of my days on phone calls with lawyers and accountants and advisors. And I have notebooks filled with all these different things that I am learning about. So I want to encourage you to always be open to learning and seek out people around you for ideas of how they've managed things and how they've done it, because everyone has had the same kind of challenges. I'm in a business group of other business owners, and we have all the exact same issues, but yet our businesses are so different. I have a staffing company. Someone in my group owns gas stations. Someone else has a investment fund. I mean, they're just all these, but we all have the same challenges of, you know, how do you deal with personnel? How do you deal with long range planning? Whatever it is, but there's always people around you that have experienced the same thing, and you should really go to them. And I'm going to stop so we can have question and answer. But I guess the other thing I do tell people a lot, when lots of my friends call me when they're looking for jobs, or they've taken time out and they're going back, I again tell them, your resume is not going to make or break you. It's your networking. It really is. The other thing I tell people is, yes, you should, hold out for a very good job. It doesn't have to be perfect, but it's easier to get a job when you're working. It's because I've found for myself, and I see it in my friends, you just have a little bit more confidence in yourself when you're already working and you're applying for a job. It's easier then to make that transition. And so sometimes taking a job that's not your dream, it's still going to lead you, it's going to teach you new things. It's going to teach you either about things that you like or things that you don't like. And it will help you with networking, but it gives you a better platform to jump off of when you're looking for a job. So I'll leave it at that, and then I'm happy to answer questions. And I don't know if there was anything else I didn't cover that, Paula, if you think I should cover, I'm happy to.
Well, as Kelsey noted, I was so excited that I forgot to even read your bio to introduce you. So I'm probably not the one to help you identify if you forgot anything. But I have been typing a question I was curious about in the chat. I think, I just feel so inspired by you as a fellow first gen student, and also just the way you've used your social work skills to scan systems, find the gaps, figure out what you need to know. You're so resourceful, and I really love your orientation as a lifelong learner. So yeah, this has just been so fun to get to learn from you. I do want to invite everybody to go ahead and type questions into the chat, or I guess, we never know how big these calls are going to get, and certainly more people will see this as a recording, but we do have probably a small enough group that we could ask our questions out loud. So if you feel comfortable, you could just raise your little, is there a Zoom hand? There's one in Teams, but you could just, jump in and go ahead and ask Melissa a question whenever you're ready.
I will, while you're thinking, go ahead. I'll tell you after that.
I'm happy to ask a question if that's okay. Kelly Maycumber, my pronouns are she, her. I work for the field education department here at CSU. And I just first off want to say thank you. I also echo everything that Paula said and want to add on that all of the pieces that you mentioned are so great for our students who come to me looking for an internship. And, how can I view an internship? How can I look at an internship? And so many of the pieces that you talked about are ways where an internship is not an end all be all. It is just one exploration of many more that you will have. And so I just appreciated a lot of your points about, a job and or an internship. Sometimes you learn the things that you don't want to do, but then you gravitate and then you learn the pieces that you do want to do. So I just appreciated how you talk to that. And I kind of want to snip out this little recording and then show it to all my interns as they come through the program. So thank you for that. But I do wonder if there is any more specific advice or thoughts you have directly related to internships for students coming through, whether undergrad or graduate level. I know that's kind of a vague question,
About
but
finding an internship or how to succeed in an internship?
just in general, like thoughts on like what you wish you would have known about an internship, or pieces you would have done instead of what you did, or maybe why yours was so successful. So it's just pretty vague and open, but I don't know what your thoughts were in general on that.
So when I was at CSU, I did my internship at the state capitol because there was a CSU alum who was like chief of staff and was an MSW, so she could provide supervision to me. But the person, I was assigned to a legislator, and he had no interest in me, and I had no interest in what he was doing. And I didn't make the most of that experience. But it did, it got me. So from there, I did get the job eventually in another state capital. So it got me familiar with the environment, so that was something that was good that came out of it. And I guess the other experience I have is as a parent. My son, who graduated last year, had an internship in Denver. He graduated from CSU. And at the end of his internship, he really wanted to get hired there. And the whole time had been working really hard and coming in early, staying late. And he said, what do I do if they don't hire me? And I said, then you go find somewhere else to go work, because you can't make them hire you, number one. And maybe it's not a good fit. That if you're, coming in early and staying late and they're not appreciating that, maybe it's just not the right fit. It turned out that they did hire him, and it's mostly his dream job, but it's not everything. And he's already saying, maybe I stay for 2 or 3 years and then I'll go try something else. So it's an opportunity to see what you like and to see what you don't like.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Melissa, there is a question in the chat that I'll go ahead and read for recording purposes. The theme for this year's Social Work Month centers on resilience. As a leader of a company that now has 1,400 plus employees, how have you maintained and or grown your own resilience during these difficult past 2 years? And how do you encourage resilience in your employees?
Yeah. So resilience. Everything I do is focused on kind of 3 things. It's taking care of myself, my personal self, taking care of my family, and taking care of my career. That those are like the 3 kind of, and the way I view my life, these 3 pillars of my life. And I feel like when one of them is out of balance, the other 2 are out of balance. And so I try to, focus on keeping a balance between my own personal health, mental health, physical health, the health and support of my family, and then my professional work and kind of community involvement. I also have a network and some of my network are here of people that I really lean on and go to. And, I'm fairly open about my challenges. I personally don't like people when their lives are all so neat and tidy, because I feel like I can't relate to that, because my life often feels like it's a mess. And I like other people who can show their mess too, and that we can then kind of sort through it together. And it makes me feel better when I know that I'm not the only one struggling with something. And when I can be honest with my friends and talk about whatever my anxiety and my, going through COVID has been hard, and it's been such an experience. And I struggled for the first 4 or 5 months of COVID when I I was working at home and I was working at my dining room table. And I eventually realized that the beginning of COVID, we weren't going anywhere. I had groceries delivered. We were afraid to leave the house. I felt I got really isolated, and my dining room doesn't have windows. And this isn't the only thing that helped me, but I eventually got a desk in a area in my house next to a window where I had light every day. I had light on me. That was one thing that helped. I also just kind of reached out to my friends and talked about how just felt so isolated. And it was so hard to even see my friends. And we would be wearing a mask. We'd be walking 6 feet apart on a sidewalk. But it was hard. And so in my company here, I've tried to really just be open and talk about how it's been hard for me and how I understand and have room for other people who, it's hard for, because we've all dealt with this so differently. I feel like now all of a sudden everyone around here is just drop the mask, like, oh, it's over. Like, I'm not sure I quite feel that. I don't really feel that sense of relief that it seems like other people have yet. I still feel fairly cautious. So I don't know if that answered the question about resilience. I don't know. I feel like I'm just doing what I can.
Yeah, thanks, Melissa. I mean, I think it's really helpful for all of us in this room to hear that, like, your experience is so relatable. I mean, I think that's what most of us experienced during the pandemic, continue to experience the uncertainty of, what degree of over is this? Will it ever be? So I just think it's really relatable and reassuring that even like extremely successful people in our field are still feeling, what each of us is feeling. So yeah, thank you.
The thing that I do talk about, so I will just tell you, I generally don't talk very much about my business and how much it's grown. Because I feel like I'm still just me. It's just me. And I don't view myself as this, I don't know, whatever I view someone who runs a big company as, I don't view myself that way. I feel like it's still just me.
Interesting that you said that, Melissa. So it's a nice segue for the question that is also in the chat. You mentioned the challenges of being a first-gen student when your parents cannot advise on the experience of going to college, but your approach seems so down to earth and relatable. Did your parents teach you any life lessons that contributed to your success?
Yes. So my parents had very good values about, hard work. That was basic value. Work hard. And their view absolutely was, if you work hard, you can achieve absolutely anything. You could be an astronaut, when I was growing up, the space program, you could be an astronaut, you could be the president, you could be anything if you work hard. And I've shared that message with my kids as well. And, I like to read autobiographies. I love to read autobiographies of other people to hear about their humble beginnings. And I just read a book by Madeleine Albright, and it was unfortunate she passed away last week, but she came from actually relatively humble beginnings. And her father was a professor at the University of Denver, which I never knew. But I like to just read stories about regular people who've achieved great things. I mean, I always looked at like President Clinton, who grew up with us in a single parent household and in Arkansas, and went on to, become governor and president. And there aren't, the only limitations we have are the ones we set for ourselves, that I believe you really can do anything that you want.
Great message. Anyone else in the group have questions that they want to pop in the chat or turn off the mic and ask themselves?
I'll ask a question. So I'm Kim. I work with Kelsey on our development team, but Melissa, I'm thinking about some of the students on the call who are going to be alums soon, and I guess just maybe we've been so proud to see the way you've connected back to the university, and you're a volunteer for our college on our executive leadership council, and you come to things and you come back to campus. And I don't know, I guess I'd ask why you do that and why you would encourage other students and soon to be alums to stay connected to CSU the way you have.
So first of all, I attribute all of my social work values and education to CSU. So I have this incredible, CSU changed the whole trajectory of my life. I mean, coming from this area where most people didn't go to college, it just opened up my whole life. And I want to give back. I want to help other students, share my experience to help them see what, possibilities of what they could do, and give back and try to be a resource to other students and to the university, because I felt like it had such a profound impact on my entire life, my entire everything. Really, I just felt like, Colorado's really sunny. I grew up outside of Chicago, which is gray a lot of the times, and Colorado is sunny. But the metaphor I always say is that I felt like the sky just opened up when I got to college, and it wasn't just the sun. It was that there were all these people around me that were interested in, learning new things, and there were all these things I could learn, and it just really excited me that I could be part of that kind of community. And I really felt very supported there. I felt very, very supported along the way, and that the social work program just really encouraged us to kind of find your own path, and was very supportive of that. So I feel like I didn't get here by myself, and I want to give back.
I'm a little bit curious about what, I imagine when you were graduating from CSU, you were like 21 years old, maybe something like that. And I'm curious what 20-year-old or 21-year-old Melissa Pappas felt like going into those informational interviews in Washington, D.C. and how you overcame any nerves or imposter syndrome, or the way you were feeling walking into those interviews. How did you manage that? What advice would you give to students about mustering that kind of courage?
Right. I'm trying to remember how I felt. I was, part of I was in such a fog. I had no idea what I wanted to do. And I also just, with every time I met with someone, I realized how much I didn't know. But I went in, I think, armed just to ask questions about what they did, and really not, I didn't have any experience I could really point to say, oh, I've done this. So it was more of just me asking them about their jobs and their roles, and how did they get started. And how did I muster the courage? I don't know. And my parents were very supportive in many, many ways. But there was a way that they weren't really supportive when I came to Washington. They didn't want me to be here. They were very subtle about it, but they didn't. So I couldn't really lean on them. And so after I moved here and I got the job in Annapolis and then was kind of let go, I was unemployed and I didn't tell my parents. And I actually went and worked at a temp agency typing because I was not going to tell my parents I was out of a job because they would have reeled me in and I did not want to go back to Chicago. So I did whatever I had to do to be able to like pay my own rent and not have to call them for money because I didn't want them to know. So
Yeah, I love that story. I also love the part of your story about like how failures guide us. And like when I talk to undergraduate students, I tell a similar story. Like I thought I wanted to be an athletic trainer, totally used none of my skills. I majored in kinesiology. It was a terrible fit. I hated memorizing body parts and nerves and, the places on bones where muscles attach. And I failed the athletic training exam, which straight A student, total nerd. I failed this test. And thank goodness that I failed this test. Like I'd be in some small Texas town taping ankles right now. So grateful that I failed that test. And I talk about like the contribution of that, failure to my life trajectory, guiding me to something that I was a lot more well suited for, where I actually got to use what gifts I do have, so I really resonate with that part of the story, but I bet a lot of the students who will see this or who are here now, or even people that are already in our careers, it's really good to hear that people who are successful have also had failures that guided them to where they are now.
everyone has had failures, and I don't know, my view is anyone that says they didn't is not being honest. Everyone has, and the person that founded Kentucky Fried Chicken had started like 100 businesses before that one, that none of them took off. So we all have, and they, I don't know if how you develop resilience, if it gets taught or you develop it, but you can only I could only sit and cry for so long. And eventually I kind of have to get up and go like, okay, now I got to go do something. I got to go do something. So I don't know if that's resilience or is it just being practical that you just sometimes just have to go push yourself just because you've got to make some money. You've got to earn some money to pay for your rent. So sometimes it's just the practical parts that motivate us, not necessarily passion. But yes, I absolutely agree that failures definitely drive us. I don't know, and I have 3 boys. I see all these sports quotes and it's like one of them's like, it's not how high you can achieve, but it's how high you bounce after you hit the bottom. It's like, yeah, it's when life is going great, it's easy to say, look how great everything is. It's when you really when you hit bottom, what you do after that is what really makes you strong and develops character. And we all have bounced at some point. And life is, and I tell my kids, life is not easy. It's just not. It's going to challenge you. And you're going to learn from it. And you probably will survive it. But, it's not always easy.
I have in my mind, Melissa, like an awesome, just sheet of paper with like quotes from what you've said, like from today that we could, hang in the hallway and reflect on. But like, I know how to learn. The only limitations we have are those we set for ourselves. When you hit bottom, it's how you react that, predicts your success. So I'm so grateful you were able to be with us today. Does anybody have any last questions before we say goodbye? No? Okay, great. Well, thank you so much. Melissa, you're getting some emoji clap symbols.
Thank you. It is my pleasure to be here, and I'm happy to talk, to be a resource to students if, people want to reach out to me. And if I don't respond, keep sending me more emails so it gets back to the top of the box. You're doing people a favor when you follow up. You are not bugging them.
Terrific, thanks. And one last reminder that Melissa's company, Athena Consulting, for those of you who interact with students, and Kelly, maybe your team in particular, they'll be at the job fair on April 6th. And so I put a link here to that event, but if we can make sure our students know, that'd be great. And
Two people that work with me are going to be there, and one of them is a social worker also. So I just have to give a shout out to social work. So she'll be there. So if you get a chance to stop by, say hi, that would be great.
Great. All right. Well, thank you, and take care, everybody.
Thank you.
Rest of your week, and I hope you had a wonderful social work month. It's now officially coming to a close.
Thank you, Melissa. Appreciate your time.
Thank you. It's really my pleasure.
Yeah,
And it's
thank
great to
you.
see all of you. And I miss lots of you. I miss seeing all of you in person.